Go. Welcome back to Two Marks and a Spark. We got a lot to talk about this week, Russ. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Doing well, doing well. Russ, I want to start this with the obvious elephant in the room, Kevin Sullivan passing away this past week.
Yes.
Uh, Arguably one of the most influential people in terms of Florida wrestling for sure. And then you look at what he did in WCW. People want to knock his whole Dungeon of Doom and whatever else, but he was feuding with Hogan for years.
Right.
Like,
Well,
so
his job was to try to keep Hulk Hogan happy, and he did a pretty good job of it.
yeah. So again, truly one of the more influential people, like in terms of wrestling throughout the 80s and the 90s. Never
Fascinating
really
guy.
never really caught on in WWE.
Not big time, no.
He was there a couple of times, never really caught on.
I thought his gimmick was really brilliant because people thought he was a devil worshiper, although he never mentioned the word devil or Satan ever in his gimmick. Never did. It just got across a certain impression. I mean, the guy was not a Satanist. He's actually Catholic.
Just the funniest part. Um Again, like, and the crazy part about the whole Kevin Sullivan thing is he was doing interviews 6 months ago, not even.
Right.
And now we're here talking about this. It's really it's sad because you think, well, he's still doing interviews, he's doing good, da 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 da, and then just shows you how quick things can go. But
Right.
I
He
I also
was
want
what,
to talk about
75, something like that.
seven, yeah. And we didn't get to talk about this on the show last week because we were doing the SummerSlam stuff. We had so much going on with SummerSlam, but it appears Jesse Ventura is back in the company, kind of,
Saw him on screen with CM Punk.
or maybe he's not back in the company, but he's back on good terms with the company,
Yeah, I think so.
which I think is interesting.
Very interesting too, because he was just a couple of weeks ago in response to Hulk Hogan's political speech. He went on the record again about how Hulk was a union buster and stooged him off when he tried to get a union going.
Yep. And he's been doing a lot of media lately, which is weird because again, he disappeared for God, what, 10 years?
Long time.
And really didn't do much. So it's like, okay, what is this for? Is it he's coming back and they're gonna have him do some spots here and there, or is it he just felt like
I haven't heard anything definite.
I don't
It's
know.
interesting to see him back, though.
I thought it was interesting and I thought it made sense that he was at the show in Minnesota because he still lives there. Like people
Right.
were wondering, well, why is he at the show in Minnesota? I know he was governor there and da 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 da, but I'm like, guys, he still lives in Minnesota. Like he has pretty much the whole time. He never really moved.
Yep.
So it's like it
Yeah,
makes sense.
my dad lived in Minnesota when he was governor up there, and so you can't really say whether he was good or bad because the Republicans and Democrats refused to work with him because he was an independent. So he didn't hardly get anything done because no one would work with him. So he could have been great, he could have been lousy, but bucking the party system at that time in Minnesota, there ain't no way they were going to put up with that.
I don't even think they'd put up with it now.
No, probably not.
I mean, granted, Minnesota is in a much better place economically now than it was when he was governor. I mean, heck, their current governor's on the presidential ticket, so
Right.
you know. But it's
Pardon me.
it's interesting to me that he's even welcomed back. And people were trying to say, "Oh, does this mean they're going to let the wrestlers unionize?" No,
No.
no, they're not. It just means that in some way, shape, or form, Ventura's on good terms with the company again. And For how long, who knows? It seems like Ventura will get on good terms with WWE about once every 15 years, and then he'll do something, and then they'll cut ties with him again.
Right.
Uh, Kind of like a less racist version of Hulk Hogan.
Right.
Uh,
Well, speaking of cutting ties, they most definitely have severed ties with Logan Paul.
have they? I have not heard that.
Well, yeah, he's fired. He was fired, and he had spoke out during the Olympics. They gave him a good reason to fire him, and that happened. I think the Monday after SummerSlam, they fired him and let him go. And I
I
think
have not.
he
I do not know that that's official. I have not heard that at all. I wouldn't be surprised,
okay,
but I, here's the thing: Prime is being sued right now. There's that Prime lawsuit. Granted, the the lawyers behind the Prime lawsuit don't have the greatest reputation,
yeah,
but have you looked into that at all? That whole thing is crazy because
no,
Prime is getting sued, but for a lot of money, but the lawyers behind it are
were they alleging
a
some
little
kind of copyright infringement or something?
no, what is this
Trademarker,
lawsuit? I'm looking. Hang on. A $68 million suit for flaking on a manufacturing deal. That's via the New York Post. So again, but it's like, and then they've got another lawsuit too, which I don't know. I don't know. If he's out of the company, he's out of the company.
right?
I wouldn't be surprised. I thought he was going to get fired. Um, After the whole thing with Iman Khalif happened.
Yeah,
After that happened, I thought, okay, there's no way. Now they had to have him lose the belt. That made sense. They had
right.
to.
Yes,
Whether
he
they
did.
fire him or whether he's just gone for now and they're going to bring him back in November, who knows?
We'll just
Because
have to see what happens. He's
he
got a
was going
lot
to be
of things going on court wise.
he was going to be off TV for several months anyway, even without this, just because that's part of his contract. Like he's there X amount
Yes,
of dates and then he's off and then he's back. So we'll see if he gets brought back. I wouldn't be surprised if he's gone. I just haven't heard officially that he is. Again, it doesn't surprise me. If you've heard that, then probably he is.
I
I
can't
just
remember
wouldn't.
where I read it. Somewhere online, but that doesn't mean it's true. I just one source.
It wouldn't surprise me. Let me put it that way. I had heard the Saturday of SummerSlam. I had heard that there was a lot of heat on him, and that they were leaning toward not firing him, but distancing themselves from the
Hmm.
whole thing, which is part of why they had him lose. I think they were going to have him lose anyway, but
Yeah,
that kind of confirmed it. I just I don't know how they can justify keeping him with everything that's going on with him because
yeah.
it seems like every time it looks like he's going to turn himself around, he gets himself in more trouble, and then we're right back here talking about well, because when you work for a publicly traded company, you cannot do what he did.
No,
It you just can't do it. I don't care if it's TKO or Paramount or whoever or Apple. Imagine if like an executive at Apple did what he did. Like that wouldn't work. That wouldn't they'd be fired. So
because
like you just can't do what he did in the whole thing with the Olympics. You can't do that when you work for a publicly traded company. It doesn't work because it tanks the stock price.
right, right, yeah,
I just and and that's taking away from the fact that what he said was abhorrent and disgusting. That's taking away from all that,
yeah.
which is a big thing.
Not to mention factually inaccurate.
Not to mention the fact that it was wrong.
Right, exactly.
So again, I don't know what's going on with him, but I don't think there's any way they bring him back in any real capacity.
Hmm.
Maybe for a match or two, but even then. Speaking of maybe not coming back, Russ, it appears, according to all social media posts and everything, that Becky Lynch's time is done for now.
Yes. It appears I had read that I don't know if it's official, but that she was retiring. That was the plan. I think that's great. She had a great career.
Well, her contract is up. So, and it's been up, and she left the company and she didn't resign. And then there was talks that she was going to go to AEW, which were bullshit from the start. She was.
Yeah. I don't think that would be a good move at all for her.
Do I doubt?
She
Do
has
I doubt?
nothing to prove.
Do I doubt that AEW made her an offer? No, they'd have been stupid not to.
Yeah.
Because if you think you have a chance to get somebody on the talent level and on the popularity level of a Becky Lynch, you're going to do it.
Right.
Even if you think it's a 1% chance, guess what? You're going to make the phone call, you're going to try even if you don't get
Yeah.
anywhere.
It just kind of sounds like I mean, they've got a family. I don't know if they have a couple of children, at least one. Okay, so maybe she's just ready to do some other things, be a mother full time and do some other things too.
And her book that came out earlier this year sold exceedingly well.
I have not
Uh
read that. Have you read that yet?
no, but I've been meaning to because I've heard it's very good and it's sold incredibly well. And a lot of people I really like have said it's very good. So, I, again, I don't doubt that, there was probably some thought in the back of her mind, like, do I want to keep doing this?
Right.
Because, and she's talked about this in interviews, like, she's not going to do this forever. And, I think her husband, Seth Rollins, would, but we've got a story on Seth Rollins that we're going to talk about here in a minute that's potentially indicating he might not be around too much longer. So,
Yeah. Was this? Does he have another injury?
he's got a chronic knee issue
Okay.
that
Yeah.
they
It's the same issue that just isn't resolved yet.
correct. My thinking, and I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on TV, but my thinking is he came back too soon.
Yeah. That very
Because
very well could be. Yeah.
remember, at WrestleMania, his leg looked like a spaghetti noodle. So
Yeah.
let's let's remember that, folks. Like he's he's had several knee injuries, and it sounds like that. So they did it, and we'll talk a little bit more about this here in a minute. But they do that angle last Monday where Bronson Reed just absolutely
Right.
destroys him,
Right.
and
That will give him the cover to be gone for a while.
but it sounds like they don't know when he's going to be back.
Right.
So it I wouldn't be surprised if he goes part-time from here out because he's just going to have to just for health reasons.
Right.
But
We may not get to see Seth Rollins versus CM Punk again.
oh, we will. We'll see Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. I just don't know when. And I don't think they do either.
Well, they're both in pretty beat up shape, actually.
Punk's healthy.
Well, yeah, he's healthy, but look, considering what he's been doing for a living, you
For
know what I mean?
God knows. Since he was what, 16, he's been doing this?
Something
Some
like that. Yeah.
ridiculous amount of time.
Right.
Uh
So
so
it looks like the Seth Rollins CM Punk uh, match is on hold. I think we
and they
still are going to get more with Drew McIntyre.
yep, judging by what we saw on Raw last night, I wouldn't be surprised if we do. I just here's the thing. Seth Rollins is one of the more underrated wrestlers in this generation.
I
And
agree.
some of that is because he's surrounded by so much of the talent in this era has been so uber talented.
Well,
Think
yeah.
about it. Like
Well, and
Dolph,
even the Shield. I mean, he was fantastic in the Shield, but you also had Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. I mean,
right. So
they
he's
all
kind of
they
gotten
all three
overshadowed.
were excellent.
And all three have gone on to have excellent careers.
Right.
Granted, you could argue Ambrose's career got better when he left,
Yeah,
which is true. It did. The second Moxley decided, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to AEW. Things just
yeah.
clicked for him.
It was definitely a good move for him, and it was definitely a good move for the other two to stay where they were.
Right, and I don't think there was ever any real chance either the other two were going to leave, but I don't know. We'll see what happens with Seth. I'm interested to
Right.
see what happens with that because I don't know. Another bit of news, it sounds like AEW has a television deal. Again.
Again, yeah. Until they don't, we'll see.
Again.
Right.
So, so look, do I think that Turner was ever not going to re-sign them? No, I always kind of figured this is how this was going to end, that they were just going to end up right back where they are, and everything was going to be relatively normal, and they were going to get a raise of some kind, and Rampage or Collision would get cut, which I assume that's what happened here.
Yeah.
Now,
But I haven't heard anything about Rampage or Collision.
it sounds like I won't be surprised, and I think this is what could happen. Tony hinted at the Death Before Dishonor media thing that one of those is going to get converted into a Ring of Honor show.
All right.
But it's going to be like a AEW presents Ring of Honor type thing where they're going to have to smack AEW in front of the Ring of Honor thing just
Well, that
to
could
get,
be interesting. Kind of like on Thursday now, we've got like TNA presents NXT. You know,
or NXT presents TNA.
that's right. Yeah, we got a whole bunch of people believing in Joe Hendry now.
So speaking of TNA and Joe Hendry, have you heard about this Joe Hendry deal? This is super weird.
No, I have not heard the details of anything.
So, are you familiar at all with how a soccer transfer works?
A little bit,
So, in a soccer transfer, a club will pay another club money for a player.
right?
And sometimes in these transfers, there will be what's called a loan back. So basically, the player will stay with the team they're actually leaving for a certain amount
Right,
of time,
right,
whether that's for player development or just to give the team that's buying them a chance to offload somebody so they can bring that guy in.
right.
What it sounds like has happened in some way, shape, or form or another, in like a really weird deal, is WWE has essentially bought Joe Hendry
Yeah,
and has loaned him back to TNA.
that's yeah, a loan back exactly. They're going to
and the
loan him
loan,
back to the original team, and they're going to maintain a good relationship with the company. I think it's great.
so Hendry now is training full time at the Performance Center, which is why I say this is a transfer because WWE would not let a TNA contracted talent train full time at the Performance Center. No chance in hell.
Yeah,
So they've got some sort of deal worked out where Hendry's either going to work the rest of his TNA deal and then go to WWE, or he's already in WWE, but they're letting him work the rest. They're letting him just work both because it's beneficial to them. And frankly, NXT's so damn loaded right now that if he was part of that full time roster, what the hell would they do with him anyway?
that's right. They've got too many people there already.
And it certainly seems like Ethan Page is going to be on the main roster before the end of the year. I'll be shocked if he's not. Same thing with Sean Spears.
Yes, and how about you know, Brian Pillman Jr. I forget his.
Lexus King.
Thank you, Lexus King. I'm always forgetting that.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't be surprised if he is too. I
yeah.
like
I think he's done pretty well. He's had some real good matches on NXT. It's hard to really stand out in a roster that's so crammed full of young, hungry talent.
yeah. And NXT is so loaded right now. It's not the most loaded it's ever been, but it's getting there. When you consider the fact that they're working with TNA and you consider the fact that a lot of the talent that they brought in 3, 4 years ago that wasn't very good at the time is now getting to the point where they're really fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at the main roster and you realize, wait a second, Chad Gable's a mid carder and he's incredible.
Right.
Wait a sec, wait a second, they're just getting around to pushing Bronson Reed again.
Well, Chad Gable, that brings to mind something I wanted to mention. Not last night's Raw, last week's Raw. It was the follow-up Raw to SummerSlam. All of the storylines for SummerSlam regarding Dominic and Liv Morgan and Rhea and Finn Balor and uh, David Priest, those were all resolved within the first couple of hours. The main event was Chad Gable and the Creed brothers versus the Wyatt Six.
I
And
actually
that,
thought that match was really good.
well, I thought it was a strange main event to follow up SummerSlam. And then last night, no mention of any of that. You know, that the Wyatt Six, well, we didn't have another appearance by them. They're keeping the storyline going, but I don't know for sure what they're doing with this. You like
It
that match
seems
though?
I actually thought it was good because I thought everybody did their job. If that do I think it should have been the main event? No, but do I
Yeah, that's
understand
my
why it
main
was?
thing. I think it should have been the other way around.
If they would have opened the show with that, it would have been even better.
I think you're
But
right.
in terms of the quality of the match, like it wasn't a poor match. Like it didn't suck. You didn't want to gouge your eyes out trying to watch it. Like
Right.
it wasn't freaking Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez at WrestleMania 9. It wasn't that.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with the Wyatt Six. It certainly seems like they're trying to keep them more reserved and kind of like a, for lack of better term, they're a mid card faction, as opposed to them just getting catapulted straight to the top of the card, which I think is
Right.
better. But I thought Eric Rowan looked great.
Yes. Yep.
I thought Loomis looked great, and I thought Gacy
Yeah.
was awesome.
Even Dexter Loomis looked good. That's hard to believe.
If you can make Dexter Loomis look good, you're doing something right.
That's right.
Because that guy sucks. But
Well, he has never he's not what he's never been a great talker either. Not much of a
but
talker.
but they don't need him to talk now
That's right.
because they got
They got Uncle
Howdy.
Howdy to talk, and Rowan's done some talking, and that was really well done. Also, I think the little VHS tape vignettes that they've done overall have been pretty well done. I like them. I'm not 100% sure where the Wyatt Six is going. It's not my favorite faction, but I like those tapes they've done.
I think the tapes they're doing are very interesting, and I really hope they stick with it.
Yeah,
It's a different form of storytelling.
that's right.
And if this was Bo Dallas's idea, give him a fucking raise.
Right.
It was genius.
Absolutely. That's yes.
Speaking of genius, Russ, I thought last week's Raw was one of the best Raws we've had in a long time.
You're talking about last week, not last night.
Correct. I thought last night was very good. I didn't think it was better than last week, but I thought it was a
Yeah.
very good show. I honestly, you know what's interesting? WWE has more momentum coming out of SummerSlam than they did going in,
Yeah, they do.
which is
And
weird because
now we're building
in pre-
toward the Bash of Berlin.
right, so only one match, or well, more than one match. One match got announced last night. A couple matches got announced last week. I think the way they're announcing these is pretty interesting because they announced the world title matches first, which makes
Well,
sense. That's what
Gunther
you should do.
versus Randy Orton.
Which is going to be awesome. That's just
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that very much.
the first time they did it, it was fucking incredible. So imagine what
Yeah,
they're going to do the second time.
and well, yeah, they've wrestled more than once, I believe, haven't they?
The well, one major time, and that was the King of the Ring final.
Right. King of the
Remember
Ring.
they had that awesome match at the King
Yeah.
of the Ring final. And then
Shoulder was not down. They're using that now using it in the storyline,
which is so smart.
which makes sense, because when the botch is right there in front of your eyes, right in the middle of the camera shot. You can't miss it.
You might as well do something with it.
Exactly.
Same reason they did the ref cam. Same reason they did that. It
Oh
was just
yeah.
them making fun of themselves. It was them being like, "Hey, we fucked up."
I think that was kind of cool. Yeah.
I hope they do ref cam again. It was goofy, but I liked it.
Right. But we also have mixed tag. We got Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio versus Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley.
I really hope Rhea hits a riptide on Dominic and pins him.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
They've been
That
teasing it.
yeah.
But Russ, I want your opinion because we're 2 weeks from All In.
That's right.
And god damn it, I don't think I could care much less.
It's yeah. I'm not that excited. We are going to get uh Swerve Strickland versus um Brian Danielson.
That's gonna be great. I
That
look,
will be it. That will be excellent. That will really be top notch.
I I don't think that match could be
I
bad.
think that Swerve wins.
Can I
Go
offer
ahead.
an alternative theory?
All right.
I think Brian's gonna win, and I think he's gonna go out on Dynamite that next Wednesday and fucking retire.
Yeah, I think he definitely will. One way or the other, he will retire. And I know that the established tradition is that you always go out flat on your back, putting the other guy over. But you know, longstanding traditions are sometimes meant to be broken. And I think that this would be a great chance for him to do that, to leave
And
the
people will
company
say, "Well,
as
what do you do with the?
champion. What's
What do you
that?
do if people are arguing like, oh, what do you do with the belt if you do that?" That's pretty simple.
Well, you
Do a
have a
tournament.
tournament.
They do it all the time.
Yeah,
They have tournaments like every other month in this company.
that's right. They
But it
could do
sounds like he's
another
going to
one of
have
those
neck
round
surgery before
robin
they end.
tournaments. I actually enjoyed that.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get one of those again uh, because they're going to do the C2 again. They're going to do the
Right.
Continental Classic again. So we'll see what happens there. But, Russ,
As far as
outside of
I
that,
think, go ahead.
outside of that and MJF and Osprey,
MDF and
this
Osprey should be good.
this all in card is really, I
You
don't know if
see,
it
we've got the. Do we have any other now trios matches announced?
uh I'm looking at the card right now. So here's the card for all in. Swerve versus Danielson. We know that. Tony Storm versus Mariah May.
Yep.
That's going to be really good, but they've stretched this thing, so who knows? MJF versus Osprey for the now American Championship, which is hilarious in its own regard. And
Yes, it is.
uh, Mercedes versus Britt Baker is back on after it seemed like it wasn't.
Right. I really
Jack
hope
Perry,
Jack Perry.
Jack Perry versus Darby Allin.
See, there's two guys I don't really give a rip about.
I thought you liked Darby.
Darby's all right, but he's not. He wouldn't be on my list of favorite. I don't hate the guy. He's like mid-level in my favorability. Not that he's bad. I just like others better.
Then we got the Trios Championship match, which is Christian, Killswitch, and Nick Wayne against either House of Black or the Bang Bang Gang.
Right. And it seems like every week we get more than enough. I never, since I started watching AEW, I ain't never seen so damn many trios matches in my life. They have, it's like watching a lucha libre card sometimes. It's just load. They'll have two or three trios matches in one show.
And then we also have the Casino Gauntlet match, which is the rumored debut spot for Ricochet. Who knows if that's actually going to happen?
Right. Have you seen Hologram? You would have been have to have been watching Collision to have seen Hologram.
I did
You
see
may
hologram.
actually he got over pretty good the matches that I saw on Collision. Yeah, I was impressed.
Yeah, he's good, but like here's the thing. He's good, but he's also a rebranded version of a guy from CMLL.
Yeah,
And here's the other thing. Can we talk? I know we've talked about it a lot. I have stopped almost entirely watching Collision because I think
yeah,
it's shit for the most part. Because I think it's for the most part garbage. um, but what are they doing with Collision? Because this this Texas residency thing,
right. I don't know. Is that permanent?
I don't know.
Yeah. Uh,
It shouldn't be.
it's a yeah. It's a smaller venue. It feels kind of like a home crowd. You know.
Yeah, but it looks terrible on television. That's kind of more over my point.
Yeah. It looks really different. They had
I don't
one.
like it.
I really enjoyed one particular match the other night, and that was because they had two teams I find very entertaining. FTR versus the Outrunners, and it was a very entertaining match.
I I
FTR
could
was mocking the Outrunners and striking their posts. It was funny.
I what I want to know. Okay, we've talked about this too. It's now August 13th as we record this, so this will probably go up tomorrow or Thursday. Where the hell is the Young Bucks title defense?
Don't know.
Private Party earned a title match 6 fucking months ago.
Haven't seen them. Yeah,
And now it looks like it's going to be like some weird amalgamation of like FTR versus Private Party versus the Young Bucks. I,
uh,
they've got they've got
why?
two they've got two dynamites to figure this out because they have dynamite this week and dynamite next week,
That's right.
and then it's all in on the 25th.
Sunday the 25th, I believe.
Yep, Sunday the
All
25th.
right. And then we got another show that same week. That Saturday is when we get Bash in Berlin.
Nope, that's the next week.
I thought that was coming right up on the 31st.
That is the 31st.
Okay.
So it's the 25th and then the 31st. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. And what's weird is for us, at least here in the States, both of those shows are going to start in the afternoon.
Yes. Yep, they sure will.
So who knows?
Right.
I I actually kind of like it when they do these international shows and they start at like 2 o'clock or
I
one
do.
o'clock or I like it because it's like, okay, we got our wrestling out of the way for the day. Now we can go do something else.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, do I want them to do this during football season? No. I beg them not to, actually.
Right.
Because if they do this during football season, I'm going to punch somebody. Which, by the way, I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember when they first started doing the Saudi shows and they were like on a Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that? I hope during football season they start doing that again.
Yeah,
Because why would you go head to head with college football and the NFL if you don't have to?
exactly. Because you're going to get beat.
You're gonna get beat either way. It's just how bad do you want to get it beat up? Like, come on, guys.
Right.
I I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do because here's the thing: there's a very good chance that All Out is their last proper pay per view because it sounds like they're moving to Max.
Okay.
So because they're going to announce that presumably any day now. That because that's part of the new TV deal. Reportedly, is that their pay per views are going to move over to Max, which I'm fine with because I don't like paying for their pay per views anyway. I don't like paying for AEW's pay per views anyway.
Right.
It's like bashing my head against the wall, hoping for something different, and then nothing changes. Like I don't know. But Russ, what did you think of that Roman Reigns angle at the end of SmackDown last week? SmackDown was a whole hubbaloo about nothing for the most part last week, except for that thing at the end.
Well, it's good to have him back. He's the returning savior. Uh, where are
Is
they
it me
going?
or did he get more muscle while he was gone? Does he not look even bigger than he did before?
Oh, that's possible. Yeah, it
Like
could have been.
I, I swear this guy just doesn't stop working out.
But
Eat, sleep.
interesting with the bloodline, the way they're going with it.
I like it.
Yeah,
I actually think it's for the better. I think everything they're doing with the bloodline is great. Uh, what I don't like that WWE is doing is Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes. What? Why? Like, that's going to be an awesome match. Don't
yeah.
get me wrong. That's going to be great.
What's the beef, though?
I
Why are
don't
they
think
doing?
there is one.
Yeah,
The beef, the way they've laid it out is like Owens has been screwed every time he's gotten a chance at the title because of the bloodline, which is
right,
true. Owens has gotten how many chances at Roman Reigns, and what's happened every time he's gotten a chance at Roman Reigns? He's gotten screwed. So I
yeah,
guess the argument is this guy's been fucked so many times that now that he won't get screwed, even though he probably will get screwed.
right. I hear
I
you.
don't know, man. I don't know, man, because Roman Reigns being back made everybody think, well, they'll do Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns again.
Not
I don't think
yet.
they will. No, I don't think they're going to do it at all. I think that's just over. Now, do I think Cody is going to beat Kevin Owens? Yeah, probably pretty clearly. Um, but do I think he should? No, not necessarily, because I think there's an argument Kevin Owens should probably win the title.
Oh, yeah, I think that's overdue. But I think that's probably a minority opinion too.
Well, I've got a lot of people I've been talking to about this, and I've thrown the idea out there that Owens should just beat Cody, and that should just be it. Because, and everybody's like, well, what do you do with Cody if Kevin beats him? You can do whatever you. It's Cody Rhodes. He's the biggest babyface in the company. You can do whatever you want with him.
Exactly.
He
You could put
doesn't
a
need
belt
that
on him
belt.
again if you wanted to. I mean, yeah, that'll work.
He doesn't need the belt to be the biggest babyface in the company.
Right.
Now, is this to set up a Kevin Owens heel turn? Probably. That's probably what this is for.
Yep, we've seen that before. Been a while.
Oh, and Kevin Owens, every friend he's ever had, he's turned on, and in some way, right? He's turned on Sami Zayn, God knows how many
Oh,
times,
yeah. Shoot, I remember when he was partners with Chris Jericho way back.
and Jericho turned on him. Or no,
Right.
he turned on
Exactly.
Jericho, and he turned
Yep.
on Jericho, and he's gonna turn on Cody probably, and he'll turn on Randy. Now, Randy's not beating Gunther. Are you
Yeah,
really gonna have?
probably not.
Are you really gonna have a what is essentially both halves of a tag team? Because they've been a tag team, really. Those two have been a tag team for the last 4 months.
Hmm.
Are you really going to have them just lose?
Maybe so. It's hard to say.
Why? For
Right.
what? I don't know. Maybe
Don't
they
know
both
what
turn heel. Maybe they both win and they both turn heel.
Right.
Maybe this is the start of like some new heel faction with like Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, and Giant Gonzalez. I don't know.
Giant Gonzalez, yes, most definitely. They should bring him back. And the
So,
Boogie,
oh, and the Boogeyman.
right.
Oh, and while we're at it, you know what? Let's call Mark Henry.
Hey, good to see him back in the WWE.
Well, he was in the crowd. I don't know if he's back at the company, but he was
Right.
there. Yeah.
I know I had heard that he had left, he's not working for AEW any longer.
Well, he hasn't been working for AW. But
Not for not for a little while now.
one thing I respect about Mark Henry, he didn't say anything bad about the company on his way out the door.
Nope.
He wouldn't say he went on Busted Open and talked about it, and they tried to get him to say something bad, and he wouldn't do it.
Well,
He's
good
like,
for him.
I loved my time there, but my time was up. It was time for me to do something different.
Yeah. Well, they might have a job for him there. Got a
I
nice reception
personally,
from the crowd.
okay, so I personally think he's probably going to start his own wrestling school. That's probably what's going to happen. And they'll partner with WWE in some way, like they did with Booker's school.
Michael Cole said that his son had already bench pressed 600 pounds.
Yeah, and I
And
guess his son might be signing with WWE too. So who
like one of
knows?
those developmental deals.
Uh huh. So let's look at it like this. I want your opinion on this because this is kind of a idea I've been formulating. Brian Danielson's retiring, right? I think he should be the new head booker. I think Tony should just give him the book
I think that that would be a big improvement.
because look at what happened when Brian started booking SmackDown. Well, he was still there. He started helping book SmackDown, and look what happened to SmackDown. It got turned around in a couple months. Granted, that was during the pandemic, so it was hard to do anything good, but he did the best he could.
Right.
So, he's already on the disciplinary committee.
Correct. Which is a weird one. But whatever.
Which we can talk about the disciplinary committee on another. That's a whole nother podcast. So
That's right.
that's a thing onto its own. He's one of the most respected people in the room. He's one of the smartest minds in wrestling. Let him do it.
Yeah.
And you know
I
what?
think
If it doesn't work, you can pull the plug.
if Tony's willing to relinquish that, because I get the sense that he wants to write everything. And it shows. It
But that's
shows.
the problem. That's the
Yes,
problem.
it is a
He wants
problem.
to write everything. He wants to write everything. It's the problem. Because look at that Dynamite show last week. Well, I thought it was actually a pretty good show. Where are we going?
Right.
It seems like one week we have a certain set of direction, and then the next week it's wholly and totally different.
And then they've got some people who, in my opinion, they don't have any idea how to use properly, like Mercedes Monet. She has been absolutely underwhelming since
Other
her
than this Britt
arrival.
Baker stuff. Other than this Britt Baker stuff, which I actually think has been
Well, I
pretty
hope
good.
this. I hope this turns into a really good match.
And this Camille angle is actually kind of cool because I like Camille. I liked Camille when she was in the NWA. I always thought she should go to WWE
Mm-hmm.
because she's awesome. She's a very good worker. Now her mic skills are an issue, but they already solved that problem because she's a heavy for Mercedes.
Right.
And I kind of like the idea of the heel having a heavy. I always thought that was something that should have came back. Was the heel has a big, tall, strong, heavy.
Right. Well,
Some brute.
they've got some other lady. I think one thing. I think a lot of people don't like to see the women bleed. one of the matches on Collision the other night was Deanna Purrazzo versus uh,
Thunder Rosa.
Thunder Rosa. Thank you. My mind was drawn a blank. That got very, very bloody.
I
Very
actually
bloody.
thought that was a very good match. I actually watched that match.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was very good. But I also think Deanna Purrazzo is underused, underrated, and undervalued in that company.
Yep. And I think she was when where she was at before too. She was underutilized and undervalued.
Uh, TNA used her pretty good, at least until the last couple months. But
She was in
the problem,
NXT at one point too, was she not?
yeah, she was part of the COVID cuts,
Thank you. Yep. It's been a few
that
years
initial
ago.
set of COVID cuts back in 2020. And then she went to TNA and had a historic title reign where she was awesome and was like the only reason anybody watched TNA for like 2 years. She had the belt for almost 2 years over there.
Well,
Like,
the women always get the highest ratings in TNA. I mean, I think the peak before that was when you had the Awesome Kong. Uh, you
and
know
Gail
that
Kim.
that was a period of time when their ratings were getting higher and higher all the time because they were centering the show around Awesome Kong.
And it shows you that women's wrestling in this country, when put on the spotlight correctly,
Right.
works.
Yes, it does.
And
Yeah,
there's still people that argue, there's still dumb shits that argue, oh, women's wrestling doesn't work in America. Yes, it fucking does. Shut the fuck up.
it does
Like,
now. It didn't
it,
used to, but now we've got that. It's so much better than it used to be.
right. But that's why I said when highlighted and spotlighted correctly, they can main event a pay per view. I think that the fact that Britt Baker has not main evented a pay per view yet is a fucking mistake.
Yeah.
I think that's a I don't know what they're going to do at All Out because they're doing one pay per view in 2 weeks or next week. I guess it'd be next week now that they're doing that pay per view
Hmm.
next weekend,
Right.
and now they're doing another pay per view 2 weeks later. So it's
Yeah.
like, how do you build anything in 2 weeks?
Right.
Unless it's going to be what it was last year, which is essentially two cards split in half or one card split in two. I always thought that if they were going to do this all in, all out thing again, that they should do it on the same weekend and they should do it in the same building and they should make it a 2 day show.
Hmm.
Because that just makes more sense.
Right.
Do it in the same fucking building
Yeah. Just do
and
a weekend deal like WrestleMania.
you can still call it all in and all out. You can still call it that.
Yeah.
And hell, if you want to do it at Wembley, fucking do it at Wembley. If you want to do it in Arlington at the Rangers Stadium, like there's a rumor they're going to do a show in Arlington at Globe Life Park. If you want to do it there, do it there. But this idea that you're going to do two pay-per-views in the process of 2 weeks is
Yeah. Well,
ridiculous.
yeah. It doesn't. I don't see how that could not be a money loser, not a money
You're going
maker at this point.
you're going to have three dynamites to build a pay-per-view. Now, everybody's going to say, well, WWE's done that before. Yeah, well, WWE, when WWE does it, they don't,
They do better.
for one, WWE has two world titles. So WWE can kind of have two world title matches and have it be fine. But there's no way Swerve's defending the title at All Out
Right.
unless they're going to say the winner of the Casino Gauntlet match is going to wrestle the world champion at All Out. Which at that point, you might as well have Danielson win the match with Swerve and then lose the belt to whoever wins the Casino Gauntlet. If you're going to do it that way, and have him have a 2 week reign and then he retires. And everybody's going to say, well, that's too much hot potatoing of the title. Yeah, I agree. But they got to do something because they can't have Danielson retire and not have the belt. I'm of the firm stance that if Danielson loses this match to Swerve, they have completely fucked this whole thing up. I am firm in that opinion that if
Yeah.
Danielson loses this match, they have fucked it over. They have fucked him over and fucked this whole thing up and made sure that everybody knows, okay, AEW doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Danielson should have been world champion twice in 3 years. At least. And really, you could make an argument that he should have won the belt instead of Hangman.
Yes.
Or beat Hangman for the belt. Because remember, he wrestled Hangman, what was it, twice for the title and didn't beat him? What's Hangman Adam Page
Yeah.
doing now?
Yeah. Hangman beating him just doesn't make any sense at all.
If you go, it's so funny going back and like reading old results for AEW because if you can look, it's like Hangman Page beats Bryan Danielson. What? Why?
What world am I living in?
Hangman Adam Page beats Adam Cole. Huh?
No.
Hangman Adam Page beats Kenny Omega. What the fuck?
Not buying any of those. Hangman Adam Page is overrated, in my opinion.
I think he's properly rated now. I think AEW overrates him, but I think the fan base looks at him the same way we do. He's a mid-carder.
Pardon me.
You're good. He's a mid-carder.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No. No, you are correct.
He's a fucking mid-carder. And you know who else is a fucking mid-carder? Whether anybody in WWE wants this to be the case or not, you know who else is a fucking mid-carder? Damian Priest.
Who?
Damian Priest. He's a mid-carder.
Is he?
I'm convinced.
Well,
because his world title run didn't work. It just didn't work. And that's okay.
it's been it.
I applaud them for trying. But it didn't work. And he's probably never going to hold the title again. And that's okay. Somebody who I think should win the title is Dominic Mysterio because I think the heat from that would be incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine a Dominic Mysterio world title run with this gimmick.
It would piss off a lot of people. I don't think his title reign would last very long unless he knows how to lie, cheat, and steal. Like old Uncle Eddie.
Like old Uncle Eddie, he'd lie, cheat, and steal it. I don't know. Russ, what was your favorite show from last week? Because I think the Raw was the best show by
Raw.
far.
I disagreed with the main event, but it was overall it was the best show. Most weeks Raw is the best. Sometimes SmackDown, almost never Dynamite.
Which is funny because remember when we first started doing this show, it was Dynamite, 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 Dynamite for like 8 weeks in a row. And then like what was it? Our first 15 episodes, Dynamite was the best show.
Yeah, something like that.
It was something ridiculous for like 15 weeks straight. And I don't think they've been the best show for about 15 weeks now.
Right.
My chair just
definitely.
The back of my chair just gave out mid-show. I think it's time to wrap this up.
All right.
All right, folks. We're gonna get out of here, and I'm gonna go fix my chair because it literally just exploded. Okay.
All right.
Russ.
Next time. We'll see you.
We'll talk to you all next time, Russ. Thanks for showing up for work today. Damon, play my fucking music. I hope my chair didn't just break.